everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the
Geek Buddies!
Hey! We're back at it again with our main show of the week. So much to jump into in the world of geeky goodness here. We got a few trailers to talk about. We got some quick stories to go through. We got a couple of reviews we're going to do in this episode for the first two episodes of Commandos and for MOANA 2, which the three of us finally got to watch there. And so we're going to have fun conversations about all of that. But we should introduce ourselves first. I am the Outlaw John Roker, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you're going to be able to see me next January, January 2025, on The Pit from Max.
On The Pit? That's right, the Noah Wiley one. So your episode is going in January, huh?
Yeah, I'm in the second episode, and then I'm in another one after that.
Oh, nice. That's a good situation for you, I think. Yes? Okay, good. Well, I mean, speaking of good situation, we'd be remiss not to mention that one of our co-hosts here on the Geek Buddies apparently went super effing viral, y'all. And his tweet here, let's take a look at this. This was a tweet that was put out, but apparently a Palm Springs NBC station put out Disney, LA, Land, Disney, WORLD. And our astute observer of the human condition said this has honestly never, ever occurred to me. 403,000 likes, 21,000 retweets, 1,400 comments, even the great Tara Strong chiming in with, oh my God, same. So, Michael Vogel, how has your newfound fame affected you? What is your feeling about all of this? How did this all come about? And when are you appearing, apparently, on this TV station?
Oh, I'll be appearing tomorrow morning. I filmed it this morning. The Palm Springs news station. It must not have been a big news week in Palm Springs. Said, "Can we have you on to talk about your viral tweet?" And I was like, "Sure." It is the dumbest tweet. It is the dumb. Listen. I tweet about like X-Men, the X-Men animated series, and how like if you think it's too woke, you're the bad guys, and that gets a lot of great. Y'all want to fight at me about X-Men? Great. You want to fight with me about this? I post about Wicked and how I think Ariana Grande is going to win the Oscar. Great, run with it. When I see something that I'm like, the letters L and A are in Disneyland, and the letters ORL are in Disney World. That's wild. I don't expect to wake up the next morning and have 15 million views. Most of which are yelling at me that I don't know. I've had so many people draw maps to point out that Disney World is technically in Lake Buena Vista and Disneyland is in Anaheim. So why am I even posting it? It makes no sense. And I'm like, wow, you people on this fucking app just want to argue about literally anything, don't you?
Anything. Yeah, and I texted Michael and said, if you move the red just one more letter over, you nailed it. The AN instead of the LA. And Mike's like, well, you know what? Why don't you talk to them about
it?
when they interviewed me on the news this morning, which again, slow news week, the guy was like, yes, I pointed out that those were the two largest metro areas that were closest to those two theme parks. And I'm like, well, Jerry, I wish you had pointed that out on my tweet because I didn't put metro areas. I just said I thought it was interesting, which was apparently very triggering to a lot of people.
Which you were not the one who made this observation. You commented on the observation.
Yeah, I saw the picture.
To come after you. Also, did you see one of our followers? Universal did their version of your tweet. Where they used your verbiage verbatim, saying this has honestly never occurred to us. Where it says Universal Studios Florida, Universal Studios Hollywood. Did you not see it? It's on the mentions. It's on the Geek Buddies account.
Okay. That should get you something.
Guys.
If you reply to them, don't get me fired.
I feel like I've had a lot of good tweets. I've had a lot of good observations. I wouldn't put this in the tops of my interesting observations.
Hey, this is the truth of life, right? Everyone's always trying to go viral. You can't go viral. It goes on its own. You can't control it.
I will tell you, when I worked at Hasbro, just speaking to that, it made me so mad because every brand team at Hasbro, we'd have these meetings. Like the My Little Pony team would be like, so we want to make some viral videos. And I would be like, okay, guys, you can't make a viral video. You can make a video and you can hope for the best. They're like, no, we're going to make a viral video. And I was like, good luck with that.
Yeah, you can't make a viral video. Well, there you go, Michael. So giving you some love. Congratulations. It's massive. And people want to see it. Is it on the NBC Palm Springs station, CBS, ABC? What is it?
Man, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Fair
I don't know.
It's one of those. I'm going to guess that it says NBC Palm Springs in the top corner. So look for that interview with MK2. And I sure hope he mentioned the Geek Buddies. I'll be watching to see if he did. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So anyways, what we got in the news this week?
Things hit the cutting room floor all the time. Of course he mentioned it.
Sorry, Mike. We didn't have enough time. All right. Anyway, let's get into things. So the way we're going to do the show today, normally we do one geek news item, each of us, and then we go into a main topic. But because we got these two reviews coming for Creature Commandos and MOANA 2, we're going to abbreviate the first part of the episode here where I'm going to toss out 3 news items for these guys to comment on, about a minute each, kind of a version of the Roka's Roundup. And then we're going to get into a couple of trailers. So let's start out with this, though. This is kind of the big news that's been popping off here. Speaking of viral tweets, or speaking of argumentative tweets, HBO is apparently circling this actor here, Paapa Essiedu, to play Severus Snape in the new Harry Potter series that's coming here. Of course, some of you may know him from I May Destroy You. I recently saw him in The Outrun, and I thought he was fantastic. In that, he's also been in Gangs of London, which is on HBO Max. But I highly recommend both of those series. But of course, without fail, this particular idea caused quite a lot of people to get their tongues wagging and their fingers typing about this possibility. So, gentlemen, 1 minute each. Vogel, I go to you first here. Your thoughts on this possibility? Do you like this idea of shaking things up? And what's your feelings on a younger Snape being cast at this point here than Alan Rickman probably was when he took the role?
I mean, my thoughts are he could be my Papa. Like, woof.
Okay.
He is. That is a handsome Severus Snape. I think it's great. He's like, to your point, he's a great actor. He's a great actor. He's British. He checks the boxes. Like, I want to, and to the point of, I don't want to see a retread of the movies. I don't want to see another Severus Snape that is an Alan Rickman. Like, if you're going to give me this series and we're going to do a compelling Harry Potter, we're going to dive deeper into the books, and really, like, each book is going to have its 10 episode or 8 episode premium kind of treatment. Give me different actors, give me different takes. We litigated all of this when they cast a black woman as Hermione in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Sure. I have no issue with casting. I would have issues if they cast. I'd have more of an issue if they cast American actors than if they're casting British actors of different ethnicities. Like, I think one of the things that the Harry Potter movies did really well is they pretty much cast every single British actor that ever existed, except for Judi Dench. And so I think they should continue. I think Harry Potter is a very British brand. I think they should cast the best of British actors who are out there right now. And whatever their ethnicity happens to be, I don't care, wizards or any color.
Oh, there we go. All right, that's under the minute. Shannon McClung, you've got 1 minute here. Let me reset it. Go. Your thoughts on that?
For a series that I have zero interest in, I think this is an interesting idea. I mean, as Vogel already said, you're not going to find someone to out Alan Rickman. So do something different. Like, this is the one part of like Mark Rylance. Again, I think Mark Rylance is good, even though, like, I have some anger still about his Academy Award. But Mark Rylance as Dumbledore, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Paapa Essiedu, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I think this is interesting. And this is the type of actor that when you're looking for someone, I don't know how many episodes your shows are going to be, maybe 10. You're looking for someone that can commit to 70 hours of television. An actor who is obviously known, but maybe not well known, at least in the US. This is a smart choice. I've seen I saw his small role in Murder on the Orient Express when he was the cop. But I do think, as Vogel already said, I mean, finding English people to play English actors play English characters in a very English series makes sense.
Yeah. I like the idea. I like the casting as well. I think he works. As I said, I've seen him in these other projects. I like the empathetic and vulnerable strength he brings to the roles that he does, and he can go hard when he needs to. He can be very caring and tender when he needs to. So it could be an interesting Snape that we're walking into. People have to let go of the stuff from the past and embrace the possibility of the new, especially with a new and updated interpretation. And I like the idea for all the stuff that J.K. Rowling is getting. Clearly, this series is willing to break some taboos in a way by casting a black actor in a predominantly white role or traditionally white character role. So this is an interesting way of kind of pushing back on all that narrative. That's
I also real quick.
Yeah. Okay.
I also think that one thing the show might be able to delve into a little more, and this is another, like, I just do think he's hot, but also the reason to cast a more attractive Snape is, in the books, like, they're more specific about the fact that James Potter's kind of a dick.
Yes.
Like Harry grows up in this world where Harry is picked on by Draco, and Harry is picked on, and he loves his dad and he loves his parents. Like, he wishes he could have been with them. But like, when you get into those flashbacks, Severus Snape was the Harry Potter in a lot of ways. And James was kind of the bully, and Lily being between the two of them, like having a Snape, to your point, who kind of brings a more of that emotional energy, like it could bring in a different flavor to the backstory of Lily and James and Severus than was there in the films, and which I think could also be interesting.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next story here. That one is Johnny Depp. That's right. Apparently we might not be done with Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. This is according to Variety, a number of the sources here. Walt Disney's company's live action division, led by David Greenbaum, wants to add another film to the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. We'd heard about the Margot Robbie. We've heard about these other things. But apparently, according to them, quote, nothing has been ruled out. And producer Jerry Bruckheimer is currently working on 2 scripts. One of them allows Depp back into the fold as if he's able to reconcile with Disney, and another one doesn't. And this essentially feels, although they say they have had no contact with Johnny Depp, which I don't effing believe, this opens the door to the possibility of him coming back. And certainly the way that whole trial ended, it seemed like if you believed Amber, you were satisfied. If you believed Johnny, you were satisfied. So there was kind of a resolution on both sides. In Britain, he lost. In America, he won. So in the end, you just come out of it however you feel about a toxic relationship situation. So, Shannon, do you see that them opening the door to Johnny Depp coming back? Will he come back? Do they see him as the secret sauce, apparently?
I mean, you can't really think about the cinematic franchise of Pirates of the Caribbean without its connection to Johnny Depp. I mean, he is kind of, especially what made that first movie. Were there other talented performers in it? Absolutely. Were there other memorable characters? Yes. You take away Captain Jack Sparrow, that movie may not have had the career that it did. That being said, by the time we got to Dead Men Tell No Tales, Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow seemed to be kind of out of gas. And maybe this nice long break is what the character needed. But again, as a brand, I think you make a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, even if it's without Johnny Depp, I think people are going to be interested enough to show up. Is he the secret sauce? Historically, yes. Do you absolutely need him going forward? Only time will tell. He is getting long in the tooth. So, we'll see what happens. And that's not to say, obviously, Keith Richards showed up in part 3. But we'll see. I don't know. I'd be curious to know what a Johnny Deppless Pirates movie looks like.
All right, Michael, your thoughts on this. Do you think this is going to happen? Do you think it should happen? And what will be the end result if it does happen? Is Johnny the secret sauce?
Captain Jack Sparrow is the law of diminishing returns. Like, Shannon's right. He 100% made that first movie what it was. And I recently did a rewatch of the Pirates movies, and the first movie is by far the best one. And his performance as Jack Sparrow in that movie is by far the best performance of his Jack Sparrows. Like, once you get to 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, like, Jack Sparrow just sort of becomes a parody of Jack Sparrow at a certain point. Like, he's running around doing like his Jack Sparrow walk and his Jack Sparrow wink, but like, you cease to sort of even care about him as an entity in the movies. So I think that Pirates of the Caribbean is probably better off without him. And even in a script where he is in it, I think he should be in it as a supporting character that hands off to whoever your new cast is. Like, I don't need another Pirates of the Caribbean movie with Jack Sparrow at the forefront of that movie. I don't need Jack Sparrow to be the lead. I appreciate what Jack Sparrow has done. I love to see him when I ride the ride at Disneyland, but like, I don't need another Jack Sparrow adventure. What I do need is another Pirates movie that is as good as the first Pirates movie, that's actually really interesting, really compelling. And if Jack Sparrow shows up in that, even as like the Barbossa of that movie, great. Like, give Jack Sparrow a new role to play. He's the villain. He's supporting. He's this. He has the key to the treasure that our heroes need. Like, cool, but don't put him at the forefront of the movie.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. I think as we're seeing more and more people pushing back on the idea of quote unquote cancel culture and all of that, I think we're going to see people who were initially pushed away, ruled out, canceled, whatever you want to say, come back into the fold because there are a large number of people who want them to come back. And there are the only thing that matters to Hollywood for the most part is money. And if they see that there's more money in having Johnny Depp coming back into the Pirates franchise, then they'll do that. And Johnny himself, I mean, look, it's not like he's breaking the doors down at the box office with anything else he's doing. So it might be good for Johnny to come back to a degree to maybe have, as you said, Michael, a send-off, like a passing of the torch here, one last movie, and then he's gone. Yeah, it could be a Barbosa. That makes sense for sure. All right, last topic in this section of the show here. Kraven the Hunter. The first 8 minutes were dropped for Kraven the Hunter a couple of days ago, or a few days ago, and basically it's just us being introduced to Aaron Taylor Johnson as this character in what I think is a Russian prison, breaking out of the Russian prison, some blood and gore, his abilities, his how can I say this, his strength, and then at the end there, discovering that maybe he wasn't the prisoner they thought he was. So, gentlemen, and Michael, I go back to you. Your thoughts. This first 8 minute, was it necessary for them to release it? And did this make you want to go see the movie, or did this make you want to see the movie less?
I was trying to think of a list of all of the super successful box office smashes that released their 8 minutes ahead of time in the YouTubes. Couldn't come up with any. So yeah, this was fine. It was fine. Like, okay, like cool. He like broke out of the prison. Like nothing about this was like offensively awful, but also like releasing this 8 minutes leads me to believe that they're trying to get people in there that opening weekend as much as they can because the reviews are going to come out and not be great.
Yeah. That's it. All right, they're way under the minute. All right, Shannon McClung, your thoughts on these first 8 minutes? Did this work for you? Did this maybe change your mind? Did it work? What's your thoughts?
It was a perfectly fine, generic action movie opening. There is the moment where he says his character's name that is built into the filmmaking and the script to be like with the audience, and it just doesn't. Partly because it's kind of difficult to separate the state of Sony Spider-Man movies versus this film. Like it's just those two, they are linked no matter what you do. But also, by and large, the movie-going audience who aren't comic book readers that you have to turn a profit, they don't know who this guy is, maybe.
Yeah.
Because he certainly doesn't look like the guy from the comics. I mean, you have the cardboard standee where he's in like the classic lion vest and in the throne. But it was fine. But even J.C. Chandor came out like the end of November saying like, give our movie a chance. I mean, this does not speak to confidence. Will I go see it? Absolutely, because I like a fun action movie, and that's my bar for this. Just give me a fun action movie, and based off the opening sequence, I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is going to be an action movie for sure. And the opening did absolutely nothing for me to make me want to go see it or not go see it. I have a screening next Wednesday, I think it is, so I will obviously go see it. It's just that I don't necessarily feel like this opening made me go, oh, this could be different. This is like a different approach. Okay, this might be cool. It was more like, okay, this is the approach they're taking with it. We'll see where it leads. A lot of Russian accents and all of this stuff. And the logic doesn't hold. Like, why does his partner sit there and wait for him to get stabbed 3 times before he does anything to run out the door? The logic doesn't hold with some of this action stuff. So fine, he's a mysterious guy. The hunter, it's a myth. So he's clearly already in motion. He's clearly already done some stuff in the past. So he has a name that people know. So we'll see where that leads to. But yeah, I didn't come away from this any more excited or less excited than I was to see the movie. So yeah, I guess that's what you say about that. All right, let's move on. Shannon McClung, take us into some trailers. What do we got going on here, brother man?
We got trailers. The first one is our first full look at the oft talked about and delayed Snow White film starring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. So this is another film, speaking of Kraven, it's kind of impossible to separate from what we get in the trailer from all of the stories we've heard about the making of this movie, from Rachel Zegler and the public's opinions on her,
Yeah.
and also the kind of shifting landscape of how are we going to do these dwarves. So yeah, I watched the trailer, and again, nothing offensively bad. Like I don't know if this is going to be for me. But I'll throw it over to you gentlemen first. I mean, clearly Mikey's champing at the bit to talk about this. What
Yeah.
did you think of our first real look at the latest live action adaptation from Disney, Snow White?
I saw the trailer in the theater for the first time when we were seeing Moana 2, and I was sitting next to our good buddy Gabe, and he was laughing at the gasps and facial expressions that I made throughout this trailer. All right, I'll start with the good. I just saw Rachel Zegler in Romeo and Juliet on Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
So going into this trailer, I was kind of in a good place with Rachel Zegler. Yes, she has like annoying theater girl energy, but like she was fucking amazing as Juliet. Like it was a stellar. It was by far Romeo and Juliet was my favorite thing I saw in New York over the Thanksgiving weekend. And so I'm okay with her. Like she's the least bad thing about this trailer. Even the original song that she's singing at the end, I was like, okay, that sounds good. I'm excited that we're going to have new songs in this story. Yeah. And as I've always said about the Disney live action films, the ones that go off book from the source material more usually are better. So the fact that this is going to be a different kind of story, like they've definitely beefed out Snow White's role and what she means to the kingdom and what she's doing with the kingdom and why she likes the prince. And like, those are all things that you should beef out if you're going to tell this story. So I think that that's cool. The dwarves are the dwarves are exactly what they are, which is we got really scared that we were going to offend some people one way, and then we got scared that we were going to offend some people the other way. So let's make some freakish things that can't offend anybody and put them in the movie that ultimately are going to offend everybody. They look horrible. Like, yeah. And I was talking to somebody about this, about like, is it offensive to have dwarves in a film and whatever? And like, I'm just fascinated because we've had 6 Lord of the Rings movies and 2 seasons of a Lord of the Rings series where dwarves are major characters in these stories. And we have figured out a way to cast people as dwarves and create dwarven culture in a way that nobody seems upset by. And had they done that with this movie, I would have been fine. But this thing, these unholy creatures that are living in this cottage are bad. And the only thing that's worse than them in this trailer is Gal Gadot as the queen. And I know a lot of people are joking about it on Twitter. I have never seen a trailer where every single line that somebody says is the worst delivery they've ever delivered. And this is the woman who gave us the classic line about the Nile that everybody made fun of in a trailer. And every single thing in this trailer makes her performance in that movie look like an Oscar-winning performance.
Jesus. Yeah. Well, Johnny, do you think there's any jewels in this dark mine?
It's such a weird thing because look, I love Rachel Zegler. I mean, how many Latina actresses have been able to come onto the scene and immediately grab all these franchises and get cast in these big movies and look, be on Broadway? It's not a lot. So I gotta champion her. I mean, she literally just kind of walked out of college and right onto this massive level of success. So we have to sometimes create a little bit of grace. How many of the people criticizing her could have handled this kind of fame in their 20s and not said something stupid on a red carpet or not been, made mistakes in interviews or what have you, or been a little more aggressive in their opinion? Like, come on, we have to create a little bit of grace. And so I support her as an actress and I support her getting more and more things. I think she's super talented. That being said, this trailer was not good. I did not like her. I think, Mike, you nailed it. Like every line delivery, you're like, oof. I don't know if do people really care? Even the way she's dancing around, you're like, what is happening here? This choreography.
To be fair, I was okay with her in the trailer.
Oh, okay. Fair point. All right, fine. Well, I was not. I felt like some of the line delivery on her side of things wasn't that strong either. And her dancing around with it. The only moment I really liked about the trailer was her singing her song and that close-up of her doing that moment and singing. It was really powerful and strong. I enjoyed that. But yeah, Gal Gadot, man, Wonder Woman is great. And that may have been the one only really good performance she's ever delivered because everything she delivers here doesn't make sense. And honestly, a lot of people are coming after Rachel because in comparison, they think Gal is much more attractive. And so you see this idea of who's the fairest of them all. So it's obviously a commentary on more than just surface looks, as Snow White usually is. But then we get to the dwarves, and holy mackerel, that is horrific. They're the stuff of nightmares, not the stuff of cool. I want to cheer for them and hope they help Snow White out. I agree. They're caught in the middle, and you get these overly large faces in your, and then this, it just all of it is really unsettling. So I don't know what the end result's going to be. Maybe this is a good movie, and these trailers don't do it justice, as we've seen recently with some of the offerings in the theaters. But yeah, this didn't make me excited to see this movie at all. Oof.
Dwarves are very upsetting.
I'm excited to see this movie.
What?
But I'm gonna go see it. What? I'm gonna go see it on like some substances.
Oh, well, fair. Yeah.
Well, the next time that we definitely know Mikey Vogel will be doing substances is on March 21st when Snow White hits theaters. So if he's really excited, it'll be March 20th, though.
Fair.
So our next trailer, which I will have nothing to offer here, so I'm going to turn it over to you two gentlemen right away, is the Doctor Who Christmas special starring the beloved Ncuti Gatwa. Johnny, take it away. What did you think?
I mean, I really love this trailer. Mike and I have been reviewing the most recent episodes of Doctor Who. If you guys are going back and finding out about the season, you can go back and watch our review. So I wanted to put this on the show for today, and I was looking forward to this trailer. I thought it was going to be longer. It's only 1 minute and 14 seconds, and 10 of those seconds are telling you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So for me, overall, I thought it had the right kind of magic, the right kind of interest. And remember, this is after Ruby Sunday has left him. So bringing in Nicola Coughlan just for a Christmas special, right at the height of Nicola Coughlan's fame with Bridgerton and, of course, Dairy Girls and all this other stuff she's doing. It's a smart move, and they have a nice energy together, and they bring a little mystery. Who's the Doctor? How do I become you? And then a commentary on how the Doctor has always lost his partners or lost his companion. So there's a lot going on here, but we're obviously clearly jumping over time, jumping into different places of time. What's the overall mystery? Who's the overall villain in this? So I thought overall this made me very, very excited to see this particular Christmas special. Mikey, what'd you think of this thing?
Well, if you listen to the Doctor Who reviews that Johnny and I did, you know that I'm sort of a newer convert to Doctor Who. I was really excited about Ncuti Gatwa being the new Doctor, and I watched the 4 specials that Disney put up that featured David Tennant. So then I went back and watched a lot of the David Tennant Doctor stuff and went through most of the Matt Smith Doctor stuff as well. And one of the things that I loved the most about all of it, and I loved a lot about it, was I loved the Christmas episodes. Like, I love Doctor Who now. Like, I was really into the vibe of Doctor Who, but I love Christmas. Like, I'm about to do my holiday watch of holiday movies, and it is going to be nonstop for the next month. And the fact that Doctor Who has these really beautiful Christmas specials that tend to not only be very, very festive, very holiday-centric, but also really important to the direction of the show and the direction of the Doctor. Like they really pull out all the stops for these holiday specials. So you know when you're going in, you're going to get something that's very Christmassy, but you really are going to get a meaty, good, like sci-fi story that really delves into who the Doctor is. And so watching this trailer, it looks like they're still top form. Like, I really enjoyed Ncuti Gatwa's first season. I mean, I think that, you know, there was a couple bumps in the road, but mostly it was a really, really fun season filled with all kinds of really great stuff. And so I couldn't be more excited about this. I am so stoked that I'm gonna have a bunch of people over on Christmas who are not Doctor Who people. So I'm either gonna have to watch this very first thing in the morning before anybody comes over, or I'm gonna have to get everybody the fuck out of my house at a certain time so I can watch it before I go to bed.
Well, according to the Googles here, the Doctor Who Christmas special is available, will be available 9 a.m. Christmas morning on the West Coast, so noon for you East Coast Doctor Who fans. Did you have something else to add, Johnny?
Oh, you having people over? Oh, cool. Is it going to be fun? Is there going to be a lot of people coming over to hang out, watch Christmas?
Yes, John. I text everybody who is in the city on Christmas and say, do you want to come over? If you and Lindley would like to come up on Christmas morning, I would love to have you. You can even come up on Christmas Eve and you can sleep in the other room, and I would love to have you here. You're more than welcome to join. And then we could wake up early and watch Doctor Who together.
It's not a bad idea, actually. I don't know if I can sleep in Daniel's bed and survive. All right, let's take a quick break. And on the other side, we'll get into our reviews here of Creature Commandos and MOANA 2 here right after this.
MOANA.
Boo 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 do 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 do. You know.
You're back on the other mic. I don't understand how you switched over.
I've not changed.
I
I've
don't
not
understand.
changed.
We're gonna have to go over to Shannon's house and fix this all once and for all. All right, let's get into things here. First 2 episodes of Creature Commandos dropped today? Yeah, right. Yeah. Today, the first 2 episodes dropped, so we can watch these things. Got the DC intro logo, which I thought was really cool. I like the opening logo of this whole thing, but these episodes here were interesting to watch, and I gotta say, the Collie Wobbles and the Tourmaline Necklace, which basically focused on the Creature Commandos, introducing them coming together, going to this island or this land rather, to protect this princess. We get the bride's backstory with Frankenstein that leads into the second episode. It gets pretty brutal. David Harbour being the voice of Frankenstein there, and to see what happens to Victor, who gets dismembered there and torn up. So a lot in this, and battles between Rick Flag and Phosphorus. Rick Flag dealing with the death of his son and the after effect of what happened in the Suicide Squad. So a lot here, but Michael, what do you think? What did you think? We're going to do a pretty general spoiler review, so it is a spoiler review. If you haven't seen them, you can stop and go back, but it's pretty general. So, Michael, your thoughts on these first 2 episodes? Did you like them? Did they work for you? Did the story work? What did they thought of the characters, the performances? Give me your 411.
Overall, like, one of the things that I really struck is like God bless James Gunn for launching his entire new universe with a weird animated series. Like, it's such a move. Like, I loved it. And like, really, when you get to the particularly like the opening scene with Rick Flag and Amanda Waller, like, this is the launch of the DC universe. We got a lot of very good information in here. Like, obviously, like we mentioned, Danielle Brooks as Amanda Waller's daughter, kind of revealing everything about Amanda Waller, like she did at the end of Peacemaker. So we know that is canon. We got mention of the Starro battle in Corto Maltese from the last Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn did, and that Rick Flag Rick Flag was killed. So, you know, like, not that any of this is shocking, and we kind of knew that stuff. I think the one piece of information that was really interesting, and then I'll get into like the show itself, was that in modern day times, people don't know if Themyscira is real. In the news story, they're very specific. Circe is sort of the villain that is introduced here as someone who is hails from Themyscira, wants to go back to Themyscira, has promised a bunch of these Proud Boys that they can go and invade Themyscira with her. But the news story specifically says maybe it's real, maybe it's not real Themyscira. So again, they've been really cagey about the Wonder Woman of it all in the DC universe. And they've mentioned doing like a prequel series about Themyscira a long time ago. But so where Wonder Woman is in all of this, I thought was really interesting. I thought the show was an absolute blast. I love the idea that post Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, the government told Amanda Waller that she couldn't kill humans anymore, so she's just going to use non-human people. Great way to introduce the Creature Commandos. Rick Flag Sr. coming in, kind of like him being our way in character, so that we get to meet each of the characters along with him, and then diving right into this mission that kind of takes them into the mix of everything and takes the bride back to where she was created. Like, it was all really, really compelling. I thought all the characters were great. For this 2 episode premiere to come out, I think the bride shines the most. I mean, she's clearly the lead of the show, and I think she absolutely slays. Already, I feel like she's iconically awesome. But every single one of them, like Nina, Doc Phosphorus, GI Robot, everyone gets their moments to shine. Rick Flag Sr. gets several moments to shine and show off his package, which is featured prominently throughout this episodes. Which I was also not mad about. But I just thought the tone of it for people who like James Gunn, the tone of this is going to be, wow, this is a ton of fun. This feels like James Gunn. If you aren't a fan of James Gunn, you're going to watch this and you're going to go, fuck, the entire DC universe is going to feel like Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad. So it really, like, your opinion of James Gunn or your opinion of James Gunn versus Zack Snyder, I think that's going to color a lot of people's opinions. But to me, this was just really great storytelling, and he kind of did already, and I've only just on the first 2 episodes, he did with Creature Commandos what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy, which he took one of the more obscure comics from DC's library, and he has thrown them into his universe front and center. And particularly with the bride and Frankenstein and their relationship, I feel like he's hit gold again, that he could take these two characters that, as much as we're going to have a universe where we want to know what happened to Wonder Woman, we're excited about Superman, we can't wait for Brave and the Bold, I kind of want to see a live action Bride and Frankenstein already. So I think he did it. Like, I'm a big fan of this so far.
What do you think, Shannon, of these two episodes? Thank you, Michael, for your comments. And Shannon, what do you think of these first two episodes? Did they work for you? Did the story work for you? Did the coming together of the characters? There was no like, let's get the team together. This is the team. You're going to lead them. That's it. So what did you think of this whole first two episodes leading to this, essentially this centuries long trauma here between Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein? Oh, the Bride.
I thought the first episode was fine. I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. It's fun. Like, again, it does feel very, very James Gunn that you have this sort of, colorful cadre of characters. By the time we get to episode 2, that's when the show takes off and then makes you appreciate episode 1 a little bit more. Everything with the Bride and with Eric Frankenstein is great. I do agree with Vogel, especially with Indira Varma voicing the Bride. It's like, man, I would love to see a show just with these two. With this guy, chasing down what he thinks is his beloved through time. That whole sequence in the second episode was just visually spectacular. The other characters, it seems like whatever's happening in modern day, is it
Polokistan? Polokistan, yeah.
Polokistan. Yeah. So whatever's happening in Polokistan,
sorry,
that's fine.
Pokolistan. Sorry about that.
Pokolistan.
Yeah.
So whatever's happening in Pokolistan, it's like this part of the story is like, it's fine. The fight between Circe and the Bride was freaking awesome. Yes. But it seems like the show is really going to be the strongest is when it goes into the background of these characters. And when you see the coming attractions for after episode 2, you find out which character they're going to dive into next. Yeah. So all of the characters are very, very rounded out for only having just a little bit of time with them. I definitely thought, like, obviously that he had said that Peacemaker was going to be sort of, it is canon, except for, the Justice League showing up at the end. The fact that they actually referenced Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag and the idea that Frank Grillo in live action is playing Rick Flag Sr. in Superman, that he was the father of Joel Kinnaman. It's like, okay, but then they address it. He talks about, like, we had our son when we were 18. So it's like, that's a great way to do this. Visually, what we get of Rick Flag Sr. does not match up with the behind the scenes photos of Rick Flag Sr. from Superman, because Creature Commandos, he is very much salt. And in Superman, it looks like maybe salt and pepper. So that's one of those things that I'm like, oh, that's interesting not to have that consistency. I thought that was an interesting choice. I also thought it was a really interesting choice, the idea that other directors are going to be working under another director, that he chose to give himself an animated avatar in the opening credits. I was like, that's an interesting choice. I don't know if that's a way to endear yourself to other creatives coming in, unless everybody gets to do this, because I can't think of any other show where the writer's picture pops up in the credits.
Bro, that I know, I hated that. I gotta say, I gotta be honest. As soon as it popped, I was like, oh, here's James Gunn's ego. But this is why he's successful, right? His ego is essential to him becoming successful. And look, it led him to be in charge with Peter Safran of DC. And so, what you can complain all you want. It's led to success. And it was a cute picture of him, and it's fine, and he looks great, and it works for the animation. Yeah.
Hold on, I got a cleaning lady outside my door who's not supposed to be here today. Keep talking.
Okay, we'll keep talking. I would love it if she throws him into the wall and we see a whole battle between the cleaning lady and Michael there break out like a Creature Commandos. Yeah, I thought the first two episodes worked really well. I enjoyed them for the most part. I've got a couple of things I do want to bring up. There were issues, but I like the animation style. I like the voiceover work here. Alan Tudyk, Zoe Chow, who's doing Nina Mazursky, and Indira Varma, absolutely, as you said, as the Bride. She's so good, so fantastic as the Bride. There's so much going on in her face. And that second episode, when you see the progression of this person who was created without wanting to be created, how she was lovingly and caringly taught things by Eric there, and then what it leads to because of the jealousy of Frankenstein, because Frankenstein is essentially a person who wants to assault this woman to force her to be his wife. So there's a commentary going underneath all of that, and the fact that they stretch that out over centuries, that he can't take no for an answer for centuries, I think is an interesting situation to throw in. So I love that, but it's great you choose David Harbour to voice him, so you don't 100% hate but you don't like what's going on. So where is that going to lead to? Very interesting. Giving Rick Flag this sadness over his son, even having Amanda, who is not really known as the most compassionate person, pausing for a moment to understand that she overstepped by mentioning his son, I thought was really sweet. The moment with him and Alana outside where he's talking about like, you guys would have got on like a house on fire. You can tell this is something that's hanging over him. So is this dropping a little bit of seeds for how Frank Grillo is going to play him when he comes up against Peacemaker and that whole situation? So that's going to be fun to see that play out on its own. I thought the fight sequences were great. Phosphorus and who's doing great. Alan Tudyk is doing great. Like his battle with Flag was great. The battle with Circe and the Bride was fantastic as well at what it led to. I mean, her having those flashbacks, having sex with Eric while Frankenstein is watching this happen. I mean, it's just like, oh my God. So there's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of emotional stuff that you have to toil, emotional dirt that we're going to toil here over these episodes. And I agree with you, Shannon. This is where the show really came to life. I give a fuck about Krapistan or whatever. I could care less about Bokolo. I don't give a crap about any of that. But the characters, that's what I cared about, the stories themselves. I do have a couple things, but Michael wants to chime in. A couple of negatives, but go ahead, Michael. Yeah.
Well, I didn't say I look. I don't disagree with you that yes, the characters are the most interesting thing about this show, which in a TV show is what you want to do. But I think I wouldn't count Pakola Stan out just yet.
Sure.
What I didn't realize, I thought it was going to be more like Adventure of the Week, but clearly this is a big serialized show. Like we got to the end of the second episode, and Circe beat the fuck out of Nina and the Bride, and they're just laying there on the ground. So I think like what's going on here, and like again in the bigger kind of arc of the show, which will tie back to the characters, is, you know, Amanda Waller was like, you have to go make nice with this princess and protect her. But even as they are driving down the streets in Pakolistan and Nina sees all the people, like people in Pakolistan are not doing great right now. Yeah. So I think that we are going to build to this story, and Rick Flag Sr., who is like in charge of this team that is there to protect this princess, I think we're going to get into a kind of nice, fun story, not anything that's earth-shattering, but that what their job and who they are sent there to protect, who Amanda Waller told them they are supposed to protect, and what's right for Pakolistan won't be the same thing. So I think and what Circe's doing there and whatever. So I think what he set up here, while not the thing that's going to like just blow us all out of the water, is a really compelling story about these characters choosing the kind of people they want to be and who they're going to protect, that I think is going to work really, really well for the series overall.
That's a good point, Michael, because Circe says to Bride when they're fighting, the Bride and they're fighting in the second episode, so you've become like essentially a tool of the Americans. And so that's going to be a commentary on American foreign policy. He's sliding that in. And look, don't look past the commentary about the Sons of Themyscira clearly saying, oh, why do women get this? Why can't dudes? You know, dudes shouldn't be, marginalized in our society. And Frank Grillo, as Rick Flag Sr. saying, they're a bunch of idiots. So these are commentaries, strong commentaries they're making to push back on some of these anti-woke morons, but also showing you a harder edge series that maybe veers into red state territory. So I like that. We're playing in the middle. This is where we do the best work, I think, personally, is in the middle, showcasing both sides, calling out both sides, but also seeing if there's any logic or value to both sides. And I love that with a show like this. Is why I've been enjoying the Taylor Sheridan stuff lately as well. So I like that we're having that energy. My thoughts, I want to get you guys what you think about this. Is he also making this for 14-year-old boys who are going to play with themselves watching naked women in animated form? I don't see the logic in this. If seeing Ilana just take off her clothes and seduce Rick, hearing them having sex outside the door, then later on watching the Bride and Eric having sex, I just didn't like it. So what do you gentlemen think? Am I being a prude? Is it necessary? Am I right? What are you feeling from?
I'm curious. Do you feel that Game of Thrones is made for 14-year-old boys?
Do I think it's made for 14-year-old boys? No, I don't.
But like they have lots of people having sex and they show brothels and they show all this stuff. Like, is that just
Sure.
there for like 14-year-old boys
You
to
could just give me your
to?
opinion instead of leading me through a passive aggressive maze. Just give me your fucking opinion. Do you like it?
My opinion is
Jesus
I don't know why you think animation can't tell the exact kind of same
Oh,
stories
wait,
that everything else
no,
does.
No. Don't take it as an attack on animation. It's me personally not knowing why he felt the need to add this stuff. That's what I'm asking. I'm not saying animation. Look, I like heavy metal. Remember the old school film from the 1980s? I love the sexual exploits of an R-rated animated film. I got no issue with that. I'm just concerned about why it's in this. What was the point? I didn't see the logic of it. So I'm asking you guys if there was logic here for why they showed it and did it work.
I mean, I think like taking each of those examples, like the princess is clearly seducing Rick Flag Sr. for her own reasons, and I don't think that they're fully. I don't think she just wants to have sex with Rick Flag Sr. I think she's got some kind of ulterior motive. So watching a character seduce another character who is clearly working to seduce this character, drop her clothes. In any TV show, if I've ever or movie, when someone is like, "Yes, I'm trying to seduce you," like that is how you seduce somebody.
So we need to see her walk across the screen naked in all as she goes to it. We need to see that.
Well, again, I know you're not. I know that you're not picking on animation, but this is a adult animated show for adults to watch. And like I have seen the same sequence. I've seen the same thing. I've seen people take their clothes off to seduce somebody. In Game of Thrones, in countless other TV shows. So again, you're calling it out in this because it's animated, even though you're okay, but you are, because like if this was a live action Creature Commandos, if this came out on HBO Max and it was right after the Penguin, they had a live action series and the exact same scene happened, I don't think you would have it wouldn't even have occurred to you to have an issue with it.
I'm more aware of this stuff than I've ever been before, and I think I might have. Like if Kristen Milioti had walked out naked for no reason at all, I'd have called that out in the Penguin because I didn't see it. They made her sexy without needing to see it. My point is, do we need Nina Mazursky naked in the bathtub? Do we need to see that? These are the questions that I was asking. It's not a matter of I don't mind animated nudity. I don't care. It's got to make sense, and I didn't see that it made sense in the moments. And do we need to hear them having sex? Hear them. Extended period.
Okay, so actually, I'll revise my statement. I don't disagree with you fully on her dropping her clothes and walking naked or seeing Nina naked. Like, I think that maybe there is some gratuitous nature to that, because had she just dropped her clothes and we had just gotten the sense of what she did, I hear you. Them having sex was funny. Like, to me, that was a good bit because Dr. Phosphorus standing out when they were coming in there. Like, to me, that was funny. And the one that I actually fully disagree with is the bride. That I think like seeing her having her first sexual experience and intercutting that with the violence of Circe and seeing Frankenstein see that, I actually think out of everything, I will revise my statement and say I understand what you're saying about some of those, and some of the other stuff perhaps wasn't absolutely necessary. I do think the stuff with the bride was absolutely, from a character and story standpoint, important for us to see, and I think they did it in a way that wasn't overly gratuitous.
Right. We weren't focusing a close up on her breasts or anything like that. That's a great point, Mike. Okay. I can concede on the bride one, but the other ones, especially Nina Mazursky in the why do I need to see an over the top shot of her nude covering her breasts in essence? And
I mean, I have a fish tank and all the fish are naked in there too. So
I have a fish tank, Greg. Can I be naked in it? Your thoughts, your thoughts on this? Am I off base? Are you more with Michael? What are your thoughts on it? Because it feels like he made this a little bit to titillate the 14-year-old boys a little bit.
No, I think there is a decent amount of gratuitous TNA in it. I mean, I think that was, and I do think that was deliberate. The thing with Ilana, I do agree with Vogel that there's more to come from Ilana. Like, this
clearly
is part of the character. Did she need to drop everything to initially proposition Rick Flag Sr.? No, but that's the choice they went with. The Nina Mazursky thing, I get what you're saying. I think the filmmaking of the bride sequence was actually really, really good filmmaking. But for me, because I'm a bit of a prude, I ain't down with necrophilia. I think that's gross. But also when Eric Frankenstein sees his maker, his dad, with his beloved, going to town on her, I think there's much more of an emotional betrayal behind a kiss than watching someone have sex. But for the filmmaking, I thought the sequence worked really well, even though that's not the choice I would have made.
Fair. Michael, rebuttal. Michael, yes, redirect.
Well, this whole there's more of a betrayal in a kiss than like some hardcore fucking sounds like a very Southern Baptist thing to say. I'm like,
whoa,
no, like if you walk in and you're beloved,
did I tell you I was Southern Baptist yet?
What?
Did I ever tell you that I was Southern Baptist? Yes, of course.
I'm just saying, like that's like you walk in and you see your beloved having sex with your creator. You're gonna have feelings about that.
True.
I think if Adam walked into the Garden of Eden and saw Eve and God smooching, or saw God going down on Eve, I think I know which would.
What are you saying? Oh my god!
I don't know. I'm covering my ears. I have earbuds in. It doesn't work.
You had to use God. All right, let's go ahead.
I do appreciate the fact that I am the least prudish of the Geek Buddies.
Well,
this has been well documented.
No, I don't understand. Yeah, exactly.
So let me tell you about my weekend. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, I think the three of us can agree, no matter what our issues may be, one thing or another. Like this was a good first two episodes to start off this series and to start off essentially kind of what do you got? A soft opening of the DCU under James Gunn and Peter Safran, or James Gunn rather than Peter Safran.
Again, I don't think it's a soft opening. Like this is the beginning of this universe. Like, and particularly, and again, we've talked. We debated this a lot when it first was announced. But like, even hearing Viola Davis's voice, I'm like, yeah, no, you were right. I don't care. Keep her. I don't care what. And I mean, and as much as we sort of debated the what is canon, what is not canon, is this going to be confusing? Is it not going to be confusing? Him coming right out of the gate with, like I said, with Amanda Waller being like, well, yeah, after my daughter did this, I did this. Oh, when my son was killed here with the Starro thing, and we're going to keep. And they're not even doing it. And to your point, John, they're not doing it in a way where they're sort of like, okay, well, we're going to mention this just so we're locking it all up, but then we're not going to touch. Like Rick Flag's death of his son is clearly going to be a major part of his character and like what he is dealing with. And I think they're the better for it. I think that choosing the pieces of the story that were going to be the best for the storytelling and the best for the characters and saying, we're keeping this. Honestly, the only thing that I had a question about, and I kind of thought about it, I was like, well, okay, if we're going to say the Suicide Squad is more or less canon, which it seems like we are, I'm really curious about the Margot Robbie of it all. And I think this is something that's not going to be an issue for a while. And I think they can sort of go either way. Like, I think you're going to get down the road. You're going to get your Brave and the Bold movie out. It's not going to be the Joker. You're going to do whatever. You're going to save the Joker because, like, you don't want, like, whenever you get to the Joker, I think they could go either way. If they just recast Harley Quinn at that point and we all said, okay, like Suicide Squad was a long time ago, we don't care. But also, if they got a few years into this DC universe and it really started working and all of a sudden Margot Robbie popped up as Harley Quinn, I think we'd all be like, that was awesome. So I don't think it's an issue for them. I was just more interested as to what they're thinking behind the scenes.
That's cool. I think that's a valid thing to put a pin in and monitor as this goes along, because who knows what's going to happen? Who knows how it's going to be received? Who knows if it's still going to be in existence 5 years from now? And I do want to give a shout out to Maria Bakalova. I thought she did a great job as Alana, and she is just slowly but surely building herself quite a resume, because she's fantastic in The Apprentice as well. So good to see her doing some good voiceover work here on the side of the mic there. All right, anything final? Michael had some final words here. Shannon, anything you want to add before we jump into Moana 2 after the break?
No, I mean I like the creativity of James Gunn's storytelling. The moment that Rick Flag Sr. puts on an oven mitt to fight Dr. Phosphorus, I'm like, that's a Jackie Chan move. Like, that's really, really smart. Yeah. So that type of filmmaking I really, really like, and so I'm looking forward to see what else he does.
And I think this is what you get with James Gunn. You're going to get a little bit of his ego, like putting himself animated, but he's going to deliver a hell of a thing for you to enjoy. So, you know,
I will say I'm still super excited for Superman, but there is like every single time you take Guardians of the Galaxy, you take the Suicide Squad, you take Peacemaker, you take this. I actually like all four of those pieces of entertainment, but tonally, they are very specifically in the James Gunn wheelhouse. Yeah. And again, I'm very excited to see what he's doing with Superman, but Superman almost by definition has to be a little bit not this.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how much of not this James Gunn can bring to this.
Let's see what Michael Vogel has to say when we get a Lois Lane nude scene. Let's see what Michael Vogel has to say then.
Was it appropriate? Was it appropriate?
I don't know. We'll find out.
I mean, if Clark walked in on Lois and Perry was going down on Lois.
Why?
You got the paid one now. All right. Anyway, let's take a break.
Great Caesar's ghost, Clark. What are you doing in here?
All right. Let's take a quick break, and we'll handle some younger entertainment here on the other side right after this.
Talk about something that's up, and away. Am I right?
Oh, Jesus. All right, let's come back. Sorry about that. All right, let's get into this thing. So, Moana 2 is out in theaters now, blowing the doors off the box office. Really surprising to see how much people have been desperately waiting for a sequel to Moana, one of the best animated films Disney has ever done. Clearly an incredible legacy. I think it's like number 6 or something like that in the recent poll of 75 animated Disney films. That's a hell of a ranking for it to get. And overall here, we have the story. Basically, it's a story of a mean entity that separated the lands, and they've got to get to this land so everybody can come back together. Moana Moana puts together a team of people to help her out from different walks of life, different ages, different species, different genders, and eventually hooks up with Maui 55 minutes into the movie, and they handle their business, pull up the island, and accomplish the goal. And a lot of people have feelings about this. So although I did go to Michael Forrest, our Creature Commandos, I kind of have to go to Michael Forrest as our Disney man, especially after that tweet, to talk to us, give us your 2 cents overall, because it's not going to be specifics and all, but overall, what do you think of this? Did this sequel work for you? What did you enjoy about it? What didn't work for you? Let us know what your thoughts are on this movie, Michael Vogel.
Watching this movie, I think coming out of the movie, I would say that it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, and not remotely as good as it could have been. I think that's really what Moana 2 is. And I think that it's tough. Usually, I'm always a fan of making the best creative decision. Make the best decision for what's good creatively for the story. Yeah. You cannot argue with the box office opening that they had. So I think creatively taking a TV series, particularly a TV series where Maui is not in it, and changing that midstream into a movie and adding Maui into it is creatively pretty disastrous. And the story, particularly in the middle of the movie, where you sort of go, what the fuck is going on? Is very clearly that. But it fucking made all kinds of box office records. Like, it just went crazy this weekend. And so obviously this was not a bad financial decision for Disney. Nope. And I don't think the movie is bad enough that it's going to like ruin Disney animation or like tarnish Moana. Like, Moana's still beloved. She was beloved before this movie. Moana's beloved. And there's enough with Moana and Maui and like the characters that you love that you come out going, I like this world, even though I didn't really love this movie. It's not as bad as Wish.
Oh God, no. Yeah.
So it was one of those, we can get into specifics on the songs and the characters and stuff, but it was like, it started off and you're like, okay. And then in the middle, you're like, oh my God, I can literally feel like the different TV episodes that got smashed together for this. And then to John's point, Maui's sort of there, but not there. And then shows up in the last, and you're like, okay, well, that's the best they could have done. And I do think with the creative team on Moana, I don't fault anybody. I feel like they were going in a direction and then were told to go in a very, very different direction. And boy, they did the best they fucking could.
Okay. Shannon, your thoughts overall on this particular movie, Moana 2, the sequel to the great Moana?
I mean, unremarkable, but inoffensive. I mean, in terms of what the this wasn't even like moving the goalpost. This was going from football to baseball. I mean, the idea that you're telling a very specific story for a very specific medium and having to change midstream, I mean, that's a huge creative undertaking. So again, as Vogel already said, the fact that it didn't turn out to be a train wreck is great. Had this been the idea that we're just going to do a proper sequel and we're going to use kind of the threads of this story that we were going to, if they had been able to concentrate on that from the beginning, it probably would have turned out better. I mean, the absence of Lin-Manuel Miranda is very much felt.
Yeah.
But also the risk that Disney took from a business standpoint, the risk that they took, because had this crashed and burned and like had it not done well, you're seriously damaging the prospects of your live action movie that's coming out in 2 years. So the fact that this not only did it work out, but it worked out really, really well financially, that's fantastic for them, because even though I don't agree with all of the creative decisions that Disney makes, by and large, I like a lot of their products and I want to see them to be able to continue to make those products, the good ones at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I walked out and I'm like, look, if I was a kid, if I was 4 or 5 years old when Moana came out, and 5 years later we get this, I could see kids being very okay with it. Again, this could have been a train wreck, and it wasn't.
I'm gonna tell you, how long was this movie?
It was an hour and 40 minutes.
It felt longer than Wicked. Like it.
Wow.
Wicked chugs along, and it's 2 hours and 40 minutes, and it's really well paced, and the characters are interesting, and everything's good. The middle of this movie, like, honestly, the Lin-Manuel Miranda thing is very clear and should be mentioned again, that like we make a lot of fun. Everyone makes fun of Lin-Manuel Miranda. He is another person who clearly is very pleased with himself a large portion of the time.
Sure.
But when you watch Moana 2, you're like, well, maybe he has reason to be. Like, Moana and Encanto have songs that are absolute bangers, and I'm going to go ahead and place money on the fact that whether Mufasa is a great movie or not, the songs are going to be bangers. Scuttlebutt from Little Mermaid aside, like he writes a good song. But I think that like I really literally, the opening song, I was like, all right, this is fine. And Moana's I Want song was like, all right, this is decent. It's Know How Far I'll Go, but it's not a bad song. And then that song when they're all on the boat, and then the villain's weird song, and then Maui's Chihu, I was like, I want to kill myself. I literally want to kill myself with these songs.
Okay, so so as someone who saw it, because I got a screener to watch it at home, I watched it at home, watched it this morning here. I think this is a perfect streaming film. You know what I'm saying? And in a good way. And I mean that in a good way. I didn't find this to be as offensive as some other people did. It was an enjoyable watch. It was chill. It didn't ask too much of me. It was a pretty simple story. You got the point they were trying to make about a villain coming into power, wanting to divide people so they could keep their power. You know the story they're trying, what the political reference they're making there. And so I was like, okay, I get it. This makes sense. Bringing the people together. This makes sense. The problem was that when I was looking at it and you watched the first film, wait, wasn't everybody supposed to be able to do this? So why aren't they all going out together? Why is it just Moana? Why is it just her putting together this team of people in essence to go and do this mini Dirty Dozen to go and do this? But once they got on the boat, yes, it kind of veers and you get that. But I did like the voiceover performances from everybody involved. I like her friend who was trying to build the boat up every single time. I liked her energy, her brother being a fan. That's absolutely the Rock going, we need to have someone who's a big fan of me so I can make fun of fans that go a little too far. So that makes sense in what they were trying to do. When Maui shows up, we spent more time with Moana. I got to know her more, got to see her more. She's coming into her own more. She's a young teenager now, not a young adult. So I'm like, okay, great. This is nice. I didn't mind the Chihu song as much as everybody else. I actually downloaded that thing and added it immediately to my workout mix. The other songs I could take and leave, but I did like certain moments. Like when he's talking to Moana about, hey, I've been down too. I've been in the dark places too. I know what you need to do. I thought that was a really important scene. And I liked it. That actually moved me. I thought the action sequences at the end there when they're trying to bring the island up, when he dives down to save her after she sacrifices herself, I thought that was really sweet, to be honest with you. So for me, it wasn't as Michael said, for me, I didn't think this was as bad as some people said, but I also think it does not hold a candle to the original. Very similar to Gladiator 2.
Sure.
Gladiator 2, fun action movie. It doesn't hold a candle to the original Gladiator movie. So I thought this was a world that I still want to see more of. And even that post-credit scene, although it was a little weird and cheesy, bringing the crab back, which made no sense, I still want to see more from this world and see where it leads us to. So overall, not as bad as I thought it was going to be, and actually surprisingly enjoyable in some spots. So yeah.
I think, but like honestly, the fact that you watch it at home, I think, is the key difference. Like I think that I even said this when we got out of the movie, which is I think had I watched this series, a version of this series of what we saw on Disney Plus, I would have gone, holy shit, like this was like watching a Disney animated film on TV. This is great. Like this is a high quality animated series.
Yeah,
that's awesome. But when you watch it in a theater, you have a different level of expectation. And look, I agree with you about some of this stuff. I thought the whole ending of like her kind of swimming down to touch the island and then Maui kind of going down to get her, the whole island rising and bringing the different people, the different tribes of people together, I thought was a really satisfying ending. And I thought that was really nice. But you really do get to this point. You're like, you set it up and Moana's like, I got to find people. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like you have this whole thing happen. Like I was laughing. She's like, so her whole point at the beginning of the movie is I want to go find people. And then she comes back to the island and then her sister's like, I don't want you to leave. And then the lightning bolt comes in and the spirit comes in and says, you got to go find people. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. She already had figured that out, but I guess we're telling her again. And then all of a sudden she sings a whole song about how she doesn't want to leave the island to find people. And I was like, why are you singing this song? You literally started the movie saying you wanted to go find people. And you're like, okay. And then the scene cuts and her mom shows up and says, you need a team. And I go, why does she need a team? Oh, this must have been the second or third episode. Okay, cool. So then she puts together, out of all of Motunui, she puts together the 3 people that she thinks are the best, that these are the best people that she needs on this boat. And they get on the boat and they can't do a goddamn thing. And then she's like, well, I guess I picked the wrong people. And then they get to the Kakamora, and the Kakamora are like, you got to go through this clam. And I'm like, the ocean is pretty big. Why don't you sail around this thing? And then they go into the clam, and the lady shows up who had trapped Maui and says, I was just trapping Maui so that he would wait for you. I'm not really a bad guy. I'm a good guy. Here's my song. And you're like, okay, well, I don't know what the fuck is going on now.
I agree with you.
And then you get to the end, and you're like, oh, okay, we're going to fight. The bad guy is actually a giant cloud. We already did this in Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, but I guess we have a big cloud as our bad guy again. And so even the Maui scene that you pointed out where he's like, I've been down before. I'm like, that was a perfectly lovely scene that contextually made no sense. Like, it was like, she kind of got to this point where she was like, I guess I'm not a good leader. And I'm like, when were you supposed to be a good leader? You got to go on your mission. So it was one of those things where like, you could really just feel all the moments where they were like, fuck, we have this TV. Like, I don't know how many episodes the TV show was, but the 8. Thing that got, so 8 episodes is a lot longer than the movie that we watched. And those episodes didn't have Maui. So what really you could tell got cut was all of the character building and all of the dynamics between Moana and her crew. Cause like they made no sense. And that's where like everything got cut to make room for Maui and to make it like the length of the movie that it needed to be. So everything with her and the crew was just like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And then you get to Maui, like you can literally feel that the movie is like the beginning 10 minutes feels like a movie. And then everything in the middle feels like a hodgepodge of fuck, we had a bunch of stuff in the TV show. How do we make this work? And then by the time they get to the end where she has to go touch the island, it's satisfying because you're like, oh, now this feels like a movie. So it really has that whole, okay, what? Okay. That's how the movie was.
I think you succinctly put it. Yes, absolutely. And I agree with you. Watching at home was a whole different experience. You're right than when you watch it in the theater. And yeah, I guess I just was like, okay, I didn't expect much from this, so I was rolling along with some of those things. But you're right to point out the story. The clam thing was true. I was like, what is the logic here? But I did like that they added more dimension to the Kakamora and saying, too. They're missing their people. They just want to get home. Yeah.
I think to be fair to Moana 2 and to be fair to the team that worked on it, you are right. We all went in with very low expectations, and I think all 3 of us came out going, that's not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Right. Yes.
And I think that what really is true is that Moana as a brand and this universe and these characters are so beloved that like even just spending time with them.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that this movie in the middle makes less than 0 cents, was fun. And I like the Kakamora knowing that they actually were looking for their home. I like that little Kakamora that joined the team that was like a fucking badass. I wish that he had more to do. He kind of showed up and you're like, cool, buddy. And then he just didn't really do much. But I thought he was a really cool, fun character. And like I said, ending the movie with her raising this island. Oh, John hated the movie so much that he left.
He said his camera might go out.
Damn it! All right, I guess I'll switch over to another. Keep going, Mike. I'll switch.
But yeah, no, I think that just in general, getting to the end where Moana raised up this island that brought all of the different tribes together, and that she is now responsible for bringing all these communities together and kind of uniting them through the ocean. That did feel like a nice continuation of her journey. So like I kind of got to the end of this movie and it's like how I feel at the end of like Thor the Dark World. I'm kind of like, well, this movie's bad. There's some nice stuff in it, but this isn't a good movie, but I still like these characters. And if we start Moana 3 and I get to know the Kakamora more and they get to plan it as a proper film and we get a compelling story now that the islands have all been united, I would be fine with this being the shitty middle chapter of Moana.
That's a fair point. Okay. Shannon, we've been going back and forth, Mike and I. What are your thoughts on all of this? You want to add anything to anything we've been saying?
I mean, you guys already kind of hit most of it. Like the characters, the supporting characters that kind of suffer the most are the young guy and the inventor gal. You could tell like whatever was going to be developed from them got left on the side of the road. My favorite new characters were the old guy and the coconut. I get like the old guy. It was just a funny performance. It was a funny design. His dynamic with the Kakamora I thought was great. I love the fact that they had a Kakamora that they had their version of Baby Groot, on the boat with them. So I thought like the fact that he's got that kind of skull mask that he puts on for battle, where his expression is a little more angry. I'm like, that's all really, really funny. But yeah, I mean, like the middle of the movie, I got real tired, and I was in the Dolby, so I was real comfy. But by the end, I mean, I thought it was a satisfying conclusion. And again, this assures that not only is the live action Moana not going to be dead in the water because the second one wasn't good, but there will be a Moana 3, and that now them. I mean, I think they understood the value in the brand. But now they're kind of like, all right, let's do a proper kind of third chapter of the story.
Like I said at the beginning of this review, I keep going back and forth because I really struggle with this. Like creatively, what Bob Iger came in and asked them to do was impossible. And when you watch the end result, you see the result of it, which is like, yeah, they really didn't. Like the middle of the movie is just this weird mishmash of stuff. But Bob Iger being like, look, financially, like putting these episodes on Disney Plus will be fine. We'll have a Moana series. It'll be fine. If we put this in theaters, we're gonna like, people want this. And it's it came out and it just dominated. I mean, what is the biggest Thanksgiving opening or biggest animated movie Thanksgiving opening? Like, so from a just business standpoint for Disney, absolutely right thing to do, even though the movie creatively, particularly in the middle, suffers because of it.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's 423 million worldwide and growing. And they're expecting 60 million over the weekend, I think, domestically. So this thing might possibly hit $1 billion. So Bob Iger will be like, I fucking told you. You can argue quality all you want. Iger, as a businessman, looked at the situation, was like, this is the way to go. And so clearly it worked out. And because it made so much money, you're going to get a third one. And the third one will absolutely be like the first one in terms of the approach and the physicality of it.
They're definitely going to develop the third one to be a movie. So that'll be good. I'll be curious. My guess, I could be totally wrong on this. I bet it doesn't break $1 billion. I bet it doesn't break up. I think that parents are going to take their kids to Moana 2. I think Shannon's right that for a lot of kids, they're going to be like, that was fun. I saw the characters I loved. But I just think with Inside Out 2 and some of these other movies, like to break $1 billion, you've got to have amazingly good word of mouth and people like going back again and again. And I just think with Moana 2, even though people are gonna be like, yeah, it was good, take your kids to see it, it's fine. I don't think people are like bowling the doors down, being like, that movie really was great. Like Inside Out 2 had some really good stuff going for it. So if it breaks $1 billion, happy to be wrong about it. Like it's all good, but like I bet it doesn't break $1 billion.
It's ahead of Wicked right now. Wicked is at 372,941,000.
Yeah, but so, the gays are gonna sail Wicked to $1 billion because they're every gay that I know is seeing it 7 and 8 times.
So you think Wicked has more of a chance to cross $1 billion than Moana 2 does?
I would personally prefer it. Just not even because I I love Wicked. I would
ask you. But yes, okay.
I would personally prefer it if Wicked passed $1 billion and Moana 2 didn't, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And more than likely, Moana 2's got another 2.5 weeks before Sonic and Mufasa come out. Adults are not going to go see Moana 2 again and again. Some adults already are going to see Wicked again and again and again and again. And I think that's going to be the difference.
I was wondering, school lets out, are they going to take their kids to go see this film over and over again? I wonder. It may be possible. So I think Moana 2 has more of a shot than Wicked now at this point. I thought Wicked had a shot, was with Michael after that opening weekend, but now it seems like it's slowing down a little bit, but we'll see. Maybe awards, consideration, National Board of Review just gave it Best Picture. So maybe those are the things that start to get people back in the box office and it crosses $1 billion eventually. I think Mufasa is a guaranteed billionaire.
I think the one thing we can all agree on is that Gladiator 2 is for sure going to cross $1 billion.
Are you being sarcastic or are you being serious?
Yes.
I feel like you're being...
Yes, I'm being sarcastic.
I know Red One ain't going to cross $1 billion. That's for damn sure.
Red One isn't going to. Red One's not passing $1.95. Like, let's just be real.
Yeah, Gladiator's at 325 right now. So, all right, well, let's wrap it up there. The supersize episode of the Geek Buddies. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate it madly. If you missed our reviews earlier this week, our conversation, Shannon and I talked about Dune Prophecy. The three of us reviewed the first 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew. Those are out there for you all to watch or listen to on our podcast feed. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, I'd like to follow us on social media. On Twitter, it's @geek_buddies. On Instagram, at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's @Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, it's Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, you think Wicked's going to cross $1 billion, it's @MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Roca, you think Moana 2 is going to cross $1 billion, you think anything with a 2 is going to cross $1 billion, including Gladiator 2, it's @TheRoca_says.
There you go, Mikey.
Go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. Check out all the amazing content that he has got there. None of it will have animated nudity, but other than that, there is a lot of really quality stuff there. Leave your comments below. What do you think of Jack Sparrow, Severus Snape, Doctor Who, Snow White, Creature Commandos, Moana 2? Let us know below. If you're listening to us on a podcast, leave us some stars and some comments so we go up in the rankings and more people can find us. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. All right, y'all take care of yourselves. Be well. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the
Geek
Buddies!
Hey!